Metal Jesus Rocks here, and I've had my iPad now for a month, and I've been using it pretty much every day, both at home and at work, and I absolutely love it. It's such a killer device. It's kind of a combination between a netbook and a laptop and an iPhone, and it's just so much fun to use. And I know that a lot of people are buying the 3G version, which just came out yesterday actually, and I know people in Europe and Britain are going to be getting one of these soon, and I know there's a lot of interest about it. So I thought it might be kind of fun to highlight some of the games that I think are worthy of your time, worthy of your money. So let's check it out. All right, so first up, we have a game from Gameloft. Now they make a lot of great games for the iPad and iPhone. This is a game called Dungeon Hunter HD, and it's basically a Diablo clone, if you've ever played the PC game. It's completely rendered in 3D, has HD graphics. It's basically an action RPG. You have stats, you have equipment, you have spells. You can create a specialized character. Right here I'm playing a mage, so my character has a bunch of magic. You also have these fairies that you take with you that have different elemental damage and special abilities. On the screen here you see the controls. It's basically a virtual sort of thumbstick, and over on the right you have the magic and the attacks. And you can move those buttons around, by the way. You just put them anywhere on the screen that you want. Right there I just drank a health potion. I was needing it. And I just summoned a creature to help me fight there and distract the enemy while I attack him. I'm in the lava sort of dungeon right now, kicking butt. So Dungeon Hunter HD is a $7 game, so it's a little bit more on the pricey side. But I'll tell you what, man, I've put a ton of time into this game, and I've certainly got my money back. There's a reason why I showed it first, and that's simply because it's one of my favorites. If you have an iPad, buy this game if you love this style of gaming. So next up is a platformer for the iPad, and it's called Soosiz. Really weird name, really great game. It's pretty cool. The controls were spot on. And basically you are a little dude. I don't even know what the story is, and I don't really care. But basically you cruise around to different sort of levels within different worlds, and you're trying to pick up family members and get these little coins. But it has a really weird sort of style to it in that, see how it rotates around? And essentially you jump up and jump on to different sort of platforms, and there's no real correct orientation for this game. It's pretty trippy to play. I've sort of almost gotten vertigo a couple times playing this, but man is it fun, and it just controls really well. The graphics are brilliant, and it's super cheap. Every person who has an iPad should own this game if you like platformers. It's pretty awesome. The next game on the list is a Mario Kart-like racer called Cocoto Racing, and it's pretty cool. It has great graphics. I think this is actually originally on the Wii, and they basically ported it over to the iPad. Runs flawlessly, looks excellent, controls really well. You can basically control this using either the buttons on the left there, or you can use the accelerometer by tilting the screen back and forth. I prefer the buttons simply because the accelerometer sometimes isn't precise enough. And that's brake down there on the right-hand side. And then to fire these things off, you're supposed to shake the screen. And not my favorite way to control it, especially when trying to film like that right there. But it can be a lot of fun. This supports multiplayer. And I only paid $1 for it on sale. I mean, completely worth it. Next up is Daze. And this is a game that has a really simple concept, but can get very challenging very quickly. And essentially what you're trying to do is grab as many of these stars as you can, and it's adding up the star dollars down below there. So you have this 10, 11, 12, which you get to spend in a store to buy upgrades and power-ups. For instance, I just used one there to suck the stars towards me, all while trying to avoid the red ones, which can basically end your game. And this game gets pretty crazy, pretty fast. It's super fun. Only cost $1. Totally worth it. All right, so here is Bad Sudoku Book. This is fantastic. It's free and it's beautiful. Controls really well. Puts a little dial on the screen there where you can click the number that you want to put in. Obviously, I'm putting fake ones in here for this. You can also put in the temporary numbers with the little beads around there. So if you're not sure what the square is, if it's a 1 or a 2, you can put those in temporarily. Supports a bunch of different difficulty levels. This is a fantastic iPad game. All right, so every gaming platform needs its own version of Risk, and the iPad's no exception. This is an excellent one called Strategery. And essentially what it is, just like Risk, you have armies and they accumulate every turn, and you take over territories, and you can either do it multiplayer, which is pretty fun, which my coworker does an awful lot, or you can do against the computer here, and it has many, many different map sizes, all sorts of options, and it's a lot of fun. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Hot Shots golf games and the Mario golf games on the consoles, and so on the iPad you have Let's Golf by Gameloft. This is a fantastic game, lots of fun, very cartoony looking, just like those other ones. You have different characters. You have unlockables. So, for instance, you have different outfits and all sorts of different things, kind of like the console versions. The controls are spot on. You tap right there to get a sense of the actual course. You can move your aim around. It's the typical sort of 3-click button golf thing, and just like the console versions, I completely suck at this one too. There, I hit the water, but you know what? It's so much fun. I don't really care. And for a reasonable price too. This game new, I think, is $7, and you compare that to the console ones, and that's pretty reasonable. Now, one of the first things I thought of when I started playing with the iPad is, oh man, there's got to be an air hockey game on here. And sure enough, there's several. Here's one. This happens to be actually free, and very simple, but lots of fun. It's got great physics, and 2-player with my wife can be quite the challenge. It's a total blast. Okay, next up is Space Miner, Space or Bust. This is technically an iPhone game, but I included it here because it just looks fantastic on the iPad. And essentially the whole concept is that you are a miner and you're out collecting ore for your uncle who needs it to defeat this evil sort of bank and this mega corporation and get control of his finances. It's a very silly game, but the gameplay is fantastic. It kind of reminds me of Asteroids, but it has elements of an RPG as well. For instance, you upgrade your ship, you upgrade the lasers on it, the shields, the engine, the capacity of it to store ore. Right here, I'm trying to rescue some miners that are floating out in space. It's just an excellent game. Now, if puzzle games are more your speed, Numba HD is fantastic. And the whole point of this is to make numeric combinations as quickly as possible and as large in sort of combinations as possible. So for instance, running 555 will clear off those, or maybe 421 will clear them off. But there's special bonuses for doing them in the opposite. For instance, if you do 4321, that's worth more than going the sort of ascending way. It's a fast-paced game. It gets nutty really quick, and it's absolute blast to play. Really cheap too. Right, and finally at the end here, I want to give a special shout out to the Retro Gamer app that's on the App Store, specifically to people in the United States who have a hard time either buying this magazine. It's a fantastic retro gaming magazine that's published in the UK, but it's always a month or two behind, and the cost is at least $10 an issue. The nice thing about the app is that it supports the iPad, supports all the page turning, the zooming, and stuff like that, but all of the issues are available on day one, and they're half off. So this is how I'm going to buy this magazine from now on. And if you haven't checked out Retro Gamer magazine, it's a definite must for retro gamers like myself.